What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the CrazyFaceUno Podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? If you'd like to support the show and help us tell more stories like the one you're about to hear, please visit CrazyFaceUno.com today, where you can purchase items from our online store or donate. As always, I'm your host, Shane McNeely, and boy, are you in for a treat today. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest today from the good old Invisible Children days, Emily Burchett. Welcome, Emily.
What's up, Shane?
I am super pumped to have you on the show. We had a quick turnaround. I reached out to you yesterday, and here we are. We're recording today. So
I know. Unbelievable.
Wild world.
What did I get myself into?
I know. Who knows? You might regret this one day. No, hopefully, there's no regrets. But.
Yeah, no regrets,
Yeah, we were just talking before we got going, and it's been like 8 years, probably. It's been a hot second.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I know. Crazy. We met back in the old Invisible Children days.
Like 2011.
Yeah.
You were running all the bands and teaching us about changing tires.
That's me. Yep. Those were the good old days, huh? Yeah. What a crazy world. We'll get into that, I'm sure, eventually, and we can talk a little as much as we want to about that. But fill us in. I have no idea. What are you up to today? These days?
Yeah.
Time frame.
Great question. I just moved to Chicago about 2 months ago.
Wow.
From the lovely state of Utah.
Utah? And you're from Utah, right?
Yeah, I'm from Salt Lake City. Sorry,
Nice.
There's a fire engine in the back if you can hear that. I live next to 2 hospitals.
Convenient.
Yeah, exactly. I'm never afraid of getting injured. But yeah, so I just moved here, and I have been looking for a job for the last little bit, and I just got one, so that's exciting.
Yay, congrats.
Yay, thank you kindly. Yeah, I've been I don't do well not doing anything, so I've been really itching for
like cabin fever.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Just got out of Salt Lake to try something new.
Nice.
And yeah.
How's the weather in Chicago today?
Listen, it's not great. I don't know. I'm used to not great weather. Well, I think Utah's perfect.
Sure.
Just gonna be fair.
Yeah.
And so it's not super abnormal for it to be this cold. It's snowing in Utah right now. But here it's just kind of overcast and cold and windy.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I'm in Florida now. I don't know if you knew that, but I live down in the South Florida area, Coconut Creek.
Okay.
So just north of Fort Lauderdale, Miami. And it got down to 48 degrees last night. It was the coldest it's been since I've been here. It's freezing.
That seems very cold for Florida.
Yeah, I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I was just as surprised as the next guy. So
yeah.
Salt Lake City. What were you doing there? You went to. So after Invisible Children, you went to school, right? You went to college?
Yeah, I went to college.
Nice.
So I grew up in Salt Lake and then went to the College of Invisible Children after high school. And then went to university in California.
Nice.
In LA, the LA area. And did that for 4 years. And then I moved back to Salt Lake and was there for almost 3 years after college, and then just moved here.
What was your major?
Communications with an emphasis in public relations.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And actually, little Invisible Children plug again, but Alex Collins was actually the one who helped me choose my major.
Aw.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so Yeah, I
But
a lot
it's
of love for that guy.
yeah, Alex. So if you're listening, right at the beginning of the beginning of Crazy Face Uno, Alex actually, we lost Alex. He took his own life, and we did some fundraising and we supported that family and whatnot. It's a big loss. It's a big loss to the Invisible Children community, and it's a big loss to just to the world. I mean, he's just such a good guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
miss him. He's influenced so many people and had such an impact. And the simplest things like helping you choose your major, but it's something that it's meaningful,
has completely
right?
impacted my life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Alex went to the same college as I did. So
did he?
Yeah, he graduated like the year before I got there, but like his legacy
Yeah, totally.
it's like lives
School
on,
friends. Yeah, totally.
So, man, yeah, that's a bummer of a situation, but it's been those things have really, I've lost a couple friends that have taken their own life and in the last couple years, and it's been really hard. It's been tough. It's something
it's not easy.
Yeah, but it's made
There's a lot of questions.
Always. But it's made me appreciate the people I have in my life, and like it's forced me to be intentional about the people that I have in my life and to make sure they know that I love them and that I'm here for them. And some of what we're doing here, telling stories and being able to share your own life and kind of think back and reflect and think about the things that have impacted you and the stories and those memories. I mean, it's the simplest things, like you
so
thinking
important.
about college sparked the thought of Alex Collins. And that's beautiful. It's like those little tiny things. It could be you're walking down the sidewalk and you see a leaf and it reminds you of a memory that you have, And
totally.
I love that. I think it's important to think back and to share those moments and I don't know, just connect with one another. So
yeah, I agree.
Well, Emily, let's go back. Let's go back to childhood. How would you describe your childhood? What was your childhood like?
I had a great childhood, I think.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. I was born in Salt Lake, grew up in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
I lived in the same house my entire life until I moved out at 18.
Nice.
My parents just recently moved out of that house.
Were you in the city of Salt Lake?
Yeah, well, yes, kind of. I lived, nobody's going to know this unless they're from Salt Lake, but in the Sugar House Foothill area, which is very central. It's pretty close to the freeway where you can get up to the canyons very easily. Okay. So although I was in Salt Lake, my address, I could get up to Park City within 20, 25 minutes. Nice. So it was very central.
I went there a few years ago. One of my best friends from college, he was in my wedding, Joel Hartzell. He lives there, and so we went to visit
Salt
him.
Lake.
Yeah, so we went to visit him. So I kind of know where you're talking about. We went up to Park City.
Park City, yeah.
We went into climbing and some of the the little areas there. It's a really fun little space. Resorts.
Oh yeah, it's an outdoor paradise.
Yeah,
you can kind of.
Can be
anywhere. Yeah, really quickly. The national parks or the ski resorts or great hiking and climbing. So that's kind of what I grew up doing. I have 3 sisters.
3? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 sisters.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 4 girls.
Nice.
Yeah, and so, but my parents were both educators. And so they had the summers off. And so we always did stuff during the summers.
Just perfect.
I did things with my parents. I didn't have a nanny or a babysitter or anything like that. We were going camping and we were driving down to the national parks or going skiing or biking or whatever. Not skiing during the summer, but you know what I'm saying? We were just always outside, and I think that really impacted my childhood. I remember having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
I definitely got that vibe when I was there. It's just this like outdoorsy, very
Yeah.
like you if you don't enjoy the outdoors, then maybe that's not the right place for you. But
Right.
if you do, it's definitely like
Yeah, if you don't mind the weathers, like it gets
yeah.
really hot in the summer, it's like 100 and something, and it gets really cold in the winter. It's like the best ski area in the United States. So
Yeah.
it's if you like weather, it's great.
Yeah. And you get a little bit of everything, which is nice.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
What did you ever say like what how like a lot of kids are like, "Oh, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a lawyer," or whatever it is when you grow up? Like, did you ever say you wanted to be something when you grew up?
Um, I think I mean, I really wanted to be a paleontologist.
Nice.
I really was impacted by Jurassic Park at an early age. I think my dad let me watch it probably too young,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just like I literally wanted a toothbrush and some dirt, and I just wanted to like clean off rocks.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't think I had like a serious like I
Yeah.
want to be this when I grow up.
Yeah. Well, I think
I
that's
always
fun
kind
though.
of
Like,
liked, yeah. I mean, a lot of it is just like the dumb things that you wanted to be when you were a kid
yeah. Yeah.
that aren't dumb, right?
No.
For sure, like people
They're
grow up to be
just
those things.
imaginative, and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they're like it's just funny I like the question because I think it puts in perspective like the mindset that you were in at that time,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, like man, when you're a kid, you have no idea. Like you're just like da da da, just out to
Yeah.
lunch.
I don't know. I feel like the sister that's closest to me in age, she always wanted to be a teacher.
Really?
And that was like from a young age. Like she we would play school, which is like a common thing for kids to play.
Yeah.
But she would like actually teach. Like she would have like a curriculum. We would like read a book and we would like learn how to like what a period means and how to pause at a comma when reading.
Yeah.
And like she taught me how to like read aloud.
That's so cool.
And yeah. And that's what she grew up to be. She has like her master's in education, and she like could be a principal. She has that whatever certificate. So, I mean, sometimes when you know.
Yeah, I envy those people.
I was just about to say, I wish. I still have no idea what I want to do.
Right there with you, girl. Right there with you. It's all good. It's all good. How would you describe your relationship with your sisters?
Great. So I was a mistake.
Ta-da!
Which is beautiful, right?
A happy accident.
I'm like, yeah, that's what they say when I say I was a mistake. They're like, no, you were a beautiful surprise. I'm like, okay, we get it. But yeah, I am 9 years younger than my oldest sister.
Okay.
And I think 5 years from my closest.
Gotcha.
And my other sisters are like a year apart and then 18 months apart. Or 2 years apart and then 18. I don't know math very well, but they're very close in age.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was like very close to them. I mean, again, it's like that we spent summers together, so I was like constantly around them, even though they were older than me. And even when like they started moving out, like we would chat on the phone or whatever. I think now we're much, much closer because like some of my sisters have kids, and so it's just like, I don't know, we're almost grossly tight-knit family.
Yeah. I love that. I know Dana, my wife, she always says like her family's awkwardly close, and
yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it's that awkward. Does that mean that I'm awkwardly close with my family? Like
Well, maybe, honestly.
Yeah, maybe. Like it's like legit. Like yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just know like some of my friends, like they don't say I love you to their, like saying I love you is a little bit of a weird thing to say to their sibling or to their parent or whatever. And that's like, if I don't end a phone call with I love you, like I will call you back because I need to confirm. You know what I mean? it's like very much, we hug, we still kiss on the mouth, which is probably weird.
Whatever.
But
Man,
like,
people get weird
I
about
don't
that
know.
stuff, but like at the end of the day, who cares, right? Like if
Yeah,
you're okay with it and like it makes you guys closer and
yeah,
happy, and then who cares? It's your thing.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, very close to my sisters. They definitely are like a very important part of who I am.
All right, so pre middle school, like what's the first thing that comes to mind when I ask the question, like what's your favorite memory from childhood?
Pre-middle school?
Yeah, like
I was a
before,
baby. I don't even remember
like
anything. Oh,
that's
well,
like childhood, you know? Like is
yeah.
there a summer that sticks out to you that you're like, this was the best summer ever?
I mean, I think like a lot of the memories that come back when I think about being that young are like, yeah, being in a campground. Um, like one, I don't know why this is coming to my head, but we used to camp at this place called Moose Meadow. I don't know what it's actually called,
Sure.
but for a really long time, I didn't know that like moose were pretty dangerous as creatures because at this place we would like feed them from our hands
Yeah.
and like they would come up to our tents and they would like we lived amongst these
Moose.
moose. And it wasn't until I was older that people were like, no, like they can be very aggressive.
Yeah. They are giant
especially
animals
with kids.
too.
Yeah, yes. They're huge.
I went camping. I've gone camping a few times up in northern Minnesota on
Okay.
the Superior Hiking Trail, and I would see these moose
Mm-hmm.
tracks, and I was like, oh, I've never seen one like just in the wild, you know? I was like, man, I
Yeah.
want to see a moose so bad. They were like fresh tracks, and I was like always keeping my eyes out for them, but I never
Did you
see.
see?
No, never did.
Oh,
I know.
they're like horses on stilts. Like they're just big.
Yeah.
They're big and lanky.
What a
They're
fun
cool.
story, though. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. What kind of, like, now looking into, like, adolescence, you know, middle school, high school, what kind of student were you?
Okay, let's chat about it. I've never been a good student.
No.
And I don't think I'm stupid. I just I like had a learning disability and they found that pretty young. Like when I was in 3rd grade, I
Sure.
was diagnosed with dyslexia.
Yeah.
Which it's super common. A lot of people, people have it.
Yeah.
But I don't know so both my parents actually have emphasis in special education.
Sure.
So they were like right on it. They got me tested early. They like
Yeah.
knew, and they had me in extra reading classes. So I think I was burnt out on school before I even like hit high school.
Yeah.
Because I would go to my regular school, which I went to Catholic school. We can unpack that later. But I would go to my whatever 8 to 2:45 school, and then after school I'd walk home, wait for my dad to pick me up, and then I would go to a reading class for like an hour and a half, and then I would come home and like be done for the day if I didn't have homework or whatever. Yeah. So I was getting a lot of schooling, and I did that through up until 8th grade. I was taking extra school outside of school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to like get me on the reading level, and then like my math would suffer because of that. So I just never was a good student, but boy was I fun to be around, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, what do you think you're like? So school wasn't your thing, but what was? Like, what was your strength? What was like? Was it friends? Like being?
Yeah, I think I had to like develop right like that, so I would get made fun of. Nobody wanted me to read out loud in class, and what do? You know, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, you're constantly reading out loud in class, and you're having to solve math problems in order to go to recess on time. And if it was me who was chosen, it was like Oh, great. Emily's
Yeah.
gonna cause us to, so I had to develop kind of
Coping
a little bit
mechanism
of a
of some
wit.
sort.
Yeah. And like, be like, okay, sorry I'm ruining this for everybody, but like,
Here we go.
look at me dance this little jig and
Yeah.
giggle.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then I definitely had to be, I think, a little bit more like empathetic toward other people because I identified with people who are struggling.
Yeah.
So I think that helped me with, I think I'm a very emotional human being, and I kind of, as like hokey as it might sound, but I feel for other people. Like when I see other people feeling a certain way, whether it's happy or sad or whatever, angry, I tend to feel that.
I'm with you.
Which can be exhausting when you're around a lot of people.
Yeah. It's like a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
It's like, it's awesome.
It.
It's like the superpower you feel like you have. But it
Yeah.
also, like, if you're around a bunch of people that are sad and negative, it's like, here we go. Like, here I am.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Have you ever
And
taken the Enneagram test deal, personality test thing?
Can you tell me what the ones are?
It's like 1 through 9, so it's like numbers.
Yeah,
and then,
I don't really remember.
Yeah.
I have taken it. It's like a 4 or 6, or I don't even want to. I shouldn't have even said that. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I'm a 4, and I would say that you're probably a 4 as well. Like, just based on what you described. But I'm not really super knowledgeable about it yet. I just kind of have learned and acquired about it.
Have you done your strengths, the strengths finders?
I have. Man, I've taken so many of those test things.
Okay, that's the one that I've kind of connected with. That I like.
And what's that one like? That's like the ENFP thing, right?
No, but that one's great too. That's the Myers-Briggs.
That's that one.
This one is like
you.
I'm trying to think if we did it at Invisible Children. I don't think we did, but I did it in college.
Yeah.
And there's like a list of like, I don't know, 90 something strengths. And then you take this test, and it says like, okay, all of these are things that you like, that humans are good at, or like traits that humans have.
Yeah.
And here are your top 5 strengths. These are the 5 things that when you took this test, they popped up multiple times. Yeah. And so these are the things that you're probably really good at.
Sure.
And so instead of focusing on, oh, I'm not a very good reader, I should take 1,000 more reading classes, it's like, oh, you're really good at development. Let's work on your development skills and be the best.
Playing to your strengths versus,
playing to your strengths instead of your weaknesses.
Be this average thing, but like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not good at something, why try really hard to be average at it when you can look at your strengths and really play up those and be something that's kind of great. I mean, I don't know how much I really buy into it, but I think it's helped me.
Yeah.
At least with like the jobs and feeling more confident is like knowing what I can bring to the table.
Yeah, it's like self-discovery.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Kind of like understanding yourself more. Like, oh, that makes sense because I do this, and this,
right.
And
exactly.
Just kind of helps you understand yourself. Yeah, I know I've taken that. I've taken so many of those over the years, like different things, because I'm always like interested in what it has to say about me. But, but I get them all confused and like mixed together. So Myers-Briggs, Strength Finder, Enneagram, whatever,
Now the horoscopes are all popular. I feel not. I used to be so young and hip with the kids, and now I just feel so old because they're like everyone's talking about the horoscopes, and I'm like, when did I?
What is yours?
I'm a Pisces, but apparently there's like your moon sign, your sun sign.
Oh,
there's
I don't know any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Sagittarius. That's about all I know as well.
Okay, well, and listen, you can say that, and a lot to be like,
"Oh yeah, you're one of those."
Yeah. And I'm like, "Cool, Sagittarius."
Cool. Yeah, that's why.
When's your birthday?
Right, I'm the same way with you. When you said Pisces, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I'm like, beats me. Isn't that like the crabs or whatever?
No, it's fish.
Oh, fish. See? I was close. Shellfish.
Yeah, I wouldn't even guess what a
redfish.
Sagittarius is.
I don't even know. I think it's a horse or something. I don't know.
Dope.
Oh man, that's funny. Were you involved in like extracurriculars in middle school, high school, or that time of your life?
Oh, yes.
Do tell, do tell.
I have a funny story. So I played soccer,
Mm-hmm.
and I played basketball.
Nice.
And then I did gymnastics.
Nice.
But I played like soccer and basketball through my school,
Yeah.
and then I just signed up for gymnastics because I really thought I was gonna be like
The next.
I was gonna make it big. Yeah, yeah. But that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I played in 7th grade. I like got super into basketball. It was like all my friends were playing,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, I'm gonna play. Mind you, I'm not coordinated, and like I don't know. I was like decent at soccer. I was just lazy.
Sure.
But anyway, so I'm playing basketball. I practice all the time. I think I get into like some games, but like very rarely. And this one game I'm in, and it's right after halftime. And I get the ball, and I go for a layup, and I make it. And it was the first basket I ever made. And I'm like stoked on life. I'm like, you guys, did you see this? I just made a basket, my first one ever. And all I see is like mad disappointment in everyone's eyes. And I'm like, what? Why is everyone so mad at me? And then I realized that we had switched hoops. And
Oh, no.
I was like mortified. I started crying. I was like, Coach, take me out. Take me out right now, Coach. I need to get out of this game.
Oh no.
And so he didn't want to take me out, but he eventually did. Anyway, moral of the story is my dad got me ice cream because I made my first basket.
That is the best story. That's one of the best stories I think that we've ever told on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm like, I knew that you'd have some dandies. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I'm like cry laughing right now. That's so funny. Man. How did that
I'm glad it can bring you joy because it was mortifying at the time.
I'm sure it was the worst. Those are the best stories though. The ones that like at the time you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah,
and now you're
it
like,
was so embarrassing. And I was already like I'm like the dyslexic girl who can't play sports.
Oh man.
And my school, let me tell you, like everyone was an athlete.
Really?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Even like, so I went to a small Catholic school. There were like 30, I think at the most there were 32 kids in my class. I graduated with 30 kids in 8th grade. And we spent kindergarten through 8th grade together. So
Nice.
I know all those schools. Like I still talk to a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they all, I swear, if maybe 10 of us didn't play college sports.
Wow.
Like they all went on to do, they were just like, it was just a sporty class. So I always kind of felt inferior in growing up.
Wow. That's crazy though. That's like a high number. I mean, my graduating class was like 120, so not
in
gigantic. Middle school, no, probably smaller than that. I don't know.
But high school was
like
120?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was like 175.
Okay. So mine was even like a little smaller. So it was
Yours
probably
was
like
a little smaller.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's crazy as well. I mean, I don't know. I like the small town. I like the small school like vibe. I was talking with somebody the other day about that. I'm like, I just think it provides a little more like, well, it's a blessing and a curse maybe, especially if you don't feel like you're good enough or whatever, but I don't know, it like creates this like pride around the extracurriculars, around your school, around and it's like
totally
some of my favorite things or the things that like I feel like motivated me was you come in on a Monday, I was a wrestler, I wrestled, we played soccer, whatever. So you'd have these like games or you'd have tournaments on the weekends and you come in on a Monday and be like, Shane placed, first at the North Docks Invitational this weekend, like, and over the announcements and it's such a small thing, but it's it like
Felt
people
good.
cared about it. Yeah, and like
Yeah,
it felt
yeah.
great. And I
Yeah,
don't know. Those things
that's
were
awesome.
always fun.
Yeah, I was doing the announcements because I
Nice.
didn't have anything to say about myself. But yeah, I did the announcements in high school, and I was the mascot.
You were? What was your mascot?
Yeah. Oh, we were the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs.
Hank the
Nice.
Tank. I wore like a huge vest so you couldn't tell if I was a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had like the big mascot
Head thing.
costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I went to
Nice.
all the games.
You'd be great at that.
Oh, it was so fun.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so fun. That is cool. Did
Yeah, and it wasn't like a nerdy thing to do. Let me just tell the viewers, or I guess listeners,
Yeah.
I was cool in high school, I promise.
I'm sure you were. You're like the life of the party. You're always fun. You're like fun to be around. You're great.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah.
You're the best.
What was it
I
like?
try.
You do a great job.
Thank you.
Anybody listening that knows you knows I'm telling the truth and would agree with me. I know. You mentioned Catholic school.
Yes.
How was that? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, so I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so Salt Lake, for all of the people who don't know, and I don't know if you know this, Shane, but it's like pretty much like owned by the LDS Church, the Mormons.
Yeah, I did know that.
So there's like a high volume of Mormons, especially like downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not as densely populated as like Provo, which is a city nearby. But anyway, so there was just like a lot of Mormons, and they're pretty restrictive. Like they can't hang out on Monday nights. They can't do anything on Sunday. Like I don't know. And
the
so
bar closes at like midnight.
Oh my gosh, if there is even
like
a bar.
11:30. Yeah.
They can't drink. They don't drink coffee.
I don't even think you can have like tap beer, can you? Doesn't it have to be like in a bottle?
No, they can't have any.
Well, I know, but like
alcohol
in the city, like I think it's like
the laws are changing now, which is nice. But like originally, so one of the loopholes is like, so like you couldn't have a liquor license in a lot of places, but if there was like a hole in the wall that you could see through to the other wall, you could have a liquor license for both of those places in just one. So there's like a lot of like shared, bar, restaurant, things. But
I just remember Bombers when I was there, like the bigger beer bottle, like the
like a stout or
32 ounces, sure. Like those were like you couldn't get. I don't know. There was like some weird thing, but that was like
percentage law.
Yeah, there's a percentage law, like 4-2, right? Like
yeah.
Crazy.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then I went to Catholic school, so I was around non-Mormons a lot, and like pretty much any religion or non-religion went to the private schools because the public schools were very predominant with
Mormonism.
LDS, yeah. So, I mean, you can fact check me on all this stuff, but this is what it was like for me growing up. I went to like Jewish preschool and was a member of the Jewish Community Center and went to Catholic school. But I liked it because I like to have a uniform. I never had to worry about what other people thought of my clothes.
Sure.
Private schools tend to have like more wealthy people. And my parents, like I said, were both educators. The only reason why we really went there was because my dad worked at the high school, and so we got like a tuition discount.
Yeah.
Like I just never felt like I was being judged based on like my socioeconomic background or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we just all had to wear the same stuff.
Which is the argument for that. I mean, that's like an argument for like having uniforms.
Totally. And I get that it's not for everyone. Like there were a lot of kids who wanted to like kind of spruce it up, and I think they did, and it was cool that they could like kind of show
express themselves.
Express themselves. So I don't love like a strict uniform, but for me it was nice, and I also just like never had to worry about, I don't know, getting dressed in the morning. It was just
Yeah.
always picked out for me.
Isn't it like isn't that why Apple guy, I forget his name. Steve Jobs, he like wore the same thing every day, didn't he?
Yeah, I
because
think so,
like
that
it like took the mind frame, or like it like was one thing you didn't have to think about, and you just
yeah,
like wore the same thing all
exactly.
the time.
Yeah. I think he had like black and gray shirts
Yeah.
and like jeans.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, makes sense.
I do think it's helpful. I really do. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked going to Catholic school. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's very different. I also learned this, I think, from being on the road with IC, but Catholicism in other states is very different than it was in Utah.
Really?
So, like, not to get, like, too political, but, like, in Utah, like, the Catholics are, like, the Democrats. They're, like,
Okay.
you know, they drink. They're,
Yeah.
like,
It's more
very into
liberal.
social justice. Yeah, more liberal. Whereas, like, I didn't know this until leaving Utah for the first time, but, like, in other states, Catholics tend to be more conservative. And that kind of blew my mind.
It's mixed. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. See, like, I grew up in, you know, like, the evangelical Christian church, so, like, the Protestant side of things, and so that was always the more stuffy side, and the Catholics were always the more liberal side in my world as well.
Okay.
But, like, I think overall, like, in society in general, it's just another, you know, there's just more restraints than, like, normal, like, just society in general, you know? So I think there's, like, depends on what tribe you, like, associate yourself with, you know?
Right. Totally.
But, yeah, it's interesting. But I can totally see that in, you know, the little amount of time I spent in Utah. It's an interesting place. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so beautiful.
It's just unique.
Weird, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah, like it's just got its own feel, its own thing.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
For sure. Did you ever, like, get in trouble, or were you, like, did you keep your nose clean while you were in?
Yeah, I was such a good, because I got to see my sisters mess up, right?
Yeah.
And kind of, like, learn from their mistakes. Like,
Sure.
I got away with a lot of things, but I also wasn't doing that many things.
Right.
Like, I never really drank even in high school until, like, my senior year.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I wasn't, like, a goody two-shoes, but I wasn't, like, I don't know, I was just
Weren't
into,
going out of
like,
your way to.
Yeah. I was in theater, and, I don't know, I was just, like, busy after school. I was on the swim team in high school.
Nice.
So I wasn't really, like, doing much other than, like, being a good kid.
Yeah. Is high school when you learned about Invisible Children?
Yeah. High school is, they came to and did a presentation at one of our assemblies, I think when I was a freshman.
Okay. Yeah, because you went to Uganda with...
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I ended up winning a trip, actually.
I'll let you explain this story, but I was thinking about that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. This is, like, the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, and, like, doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, when I was in high school, Invisible Children came my freshman year and, like, did a presentation, and I was, like, super stoked on it.
Yeah.
And then the next year they came back, right? Because that's what we love to do.
Yep.
And
get your foot in the door and just keep on going.
Exactly. And then I didn't want to go to school that day. I wasn't feeling very well, but I was like, I don't want to miss this assembly because I really liked it last year, but also I don't want to be sad again. Anyway, so I ended up going.
Yeah.
And they were, like, doing this thing at the time. Invisible Children was doing this thing at the time where you could win, like, a trip to Uganda to see the like, the different programs that we were doing at the time. And one of the ways was if you won, like, a golden ticket, like, straight up Willy Wonka
right
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory status. Which you were on the road at this time, right?
I
think
came
you were
in
deep south
fall
at this time.
2010.
Yeah, so this is fall 2010.
Really? I guess that makes sense. Are you sure?
No.
It was a little bit before
I
that
lied.
because you were in Go, right? The documentary Go?
No.
No?
That was before. So they showed Go.
Okay. Yeah, I was
This
going
is
to say,
gonna
that's
be
what I showed was Go.
Yeah, they showed Go for me to win this trip.
Okay.
That's what I bought. So it was like after that whole.
Oh, wait, maybe, did I show Go? I don't know what I showed.
Honestly, it all kind of blends together.
I've been
now,
there too
right?
long. It was too many.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do multiple tours, it's like, which one was...
Yeah. It was
anyway.
like Tony to Go.
Yeah.
I know Go was one of them, but...
At one point, we were showing the rescue on my second tour. But anyway. So yeah, I won a golden ticket. I like bought a DVD, opened it up, and there was a golden ticket inside, and like my life completely changed. I was 15 at the time, and I went to Uganda when I was 16, and started working for Invisible Children as soon as I graduated. I deferred my college acceptance. Was only, I think this is like a lot of people's story, but was only supposed to do one tour.
Yeah.
And ended up just saying no to college.
Yeah.
Like saying no thank you, and doing another I did another tour. I did 2 tours. I did internship, like a movement internship where we did Move DC, where we got like people to go to DC. If you remember that. And then I went on the road again after that for just like a half a tour.
Yeah. Like a fill-in.
Yeah. Well, kind of. It was called the Blitz Tour. We were doing the other Fourth Estate, which was like another conference that we did.
Okay.
And so like Brian, Carlos, and I went on tour.
Nice.
It was just us, just the 3 of us.
Man, crazy. So if you're listening and you're not familiar with Invisible Children, so
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. We've talked about it a lot, so most people probably do know, and a lot of people are associate with Invisible Children anyway. But a tour is like 10 weeks. We go on the road. We go to high schools, colleges, places of worship, and we share a documentary. And you talk about what's going on, the ways that you can get involved, and to help with the issue with the LRA in Central Africa. And it each tour had a different specific like ask basically, and different things that we were working on. And when you were still in school, it was probably Schools for Schools, and a lot of that was like the push, and basically it was like schools in the States or in Canada or whatever, like Western world, helping schools raise money and support schools in Uganda, which was where the conflict originally took place. And it was just kind of help rebuilding those schools and getting people back on track with their education, which is pretty cool.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Nailed it. It doesn't go away.
No, I know,
it doesn't
right?
go away. It's like amazing. You just flip that switch and
get right back into it. Yeah.
I guess we did it enough, like 10 weeks to at least generally 2 days, 2 times a week, or 2 times a day.
2 times a day, yeah, at least.
For like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. What was that like? So you went to Uganda when you were 16.
Yep.
And
yeah, I had never been out of the United States before. I had really only ever been to like Idaho.
Yeah.
Or like I think California once.
What did your family think? Like, what did your parents think when you told them? You're like, I want a trip.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
How freaking crazy. They let their youngest daughter go to another continent.
Yeah.
At 16 with people they didn't know.
Right.
And like an organization that was like pretty established, but like being run by young people.
Young and hip. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're absurd. But yeah, they were like into it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the like I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think like the religious aspect of it kind of like got my dad. He was like, well, if this, if it was meant to be, like you got to do it, that kind of stuff. But he definitely he talked to Margie and Zach, who were two people who worked at Invisible Children, who were kind of in charge of that program at the time. And like asked a bunch of questions, they emailed back and forth, I think. And
Zach
eventually it was just kind of like they couldn't say no. It was like too good of an opportunity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only thing I had to pay for was my shots.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a cool experience.
Yeah, and it really was. It was totally, I was already in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But after going there, it was like, one, I had this like immense sense of guilt, I think, because everybody else on the trip had fundraised so much money to be there.
Yeah.
And had like done all these really rad things to get themselves on this trip. And I was like, I did nothing. I literally opened a documentary.
It was meant to be, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But it like at that time, I was just extremely insecure about it.
Yeah.
Because I just was like, why am
me?
I here?
Yeah,
exactly. So that's when I was like, well, I have to like pursue this.
Yeah.
If it was like given to me, I need to make it right. So, and plus, like did you ever go?
I haven't been.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's even more incredible.
Yeah.
But like when you go and you see the schools or you see like the programs that Invisible Children was doing or is currently still is doing, like it's hard not to be all chips in committed to the cause.
Yeah.
And so,
which is pretty much what everybody says that's gone. I mean, celebrities to students.
Right, totally.
It's like everybody's like been all in. Whenever they've gone.
Yeah, for sure. I think the development side of Invisible Children, like obviously they have learned a lot, but I think they're doing things really, really right.
Yeah.
On that front. So yeah, I was like, okay, well then I'm just going to do this instead of go to college, which, right, like I was already burnt out on school before even going to high school. So it's
a nice break.
That hard, it wasn't a hard decision for me. The hardest decision was going back to school. I didn't want to do that. I still don't really see, I understand why people go to college. I don't think there's a need for it nowadays. You can totally be successful without a college degree. And I know that's like not a popular opinion.
Yeah, but, I don't disagree with you. I think that pendulum's kind of swinging back. There was a time when that was like the bee's knees, like that totally. Was the thing that like you were guaranteed to be out of, you were guaranteed to not have to worry about money and to be like financially set. And
you were
nowadays
going to get a job.
Yeah, nowadays it's like the opposite in some ways. It's like, well, you can go and take this chance, and then like good luck. Like you'll have all this debt.
People care way more about experience than they do about like your college degree. Right. But it's like, how are you supposed to get a full-time job when you're a full-time student?
Yeah, and everybody has this like marker of this. Well, you've got to get your education. So like like job applications, it's like requirements, like a 4-year degree or like bachelor's in whatever, and
totally.
Like, but you also want 10 years experience. So how are you?
How am I supposed to do that?
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
It's hard.
It's miserable.
Yeah.
But I do think, college obviously is like if you're going to be a doctor or in like, you know, anywhere in the
Yeah.
medical field, or like, it's absolutely a great option.
Tell me this
And I
though.
think,
So like if you didn't go to Invisible Children and have those life skills that you gain
mhm,
from Invisible Children, because Invisible Children was this environment, this fostered this environment. Like it's not that you weren't learning every single day, you know. It's not that you
mhm.
weren't like we had stuff we had to learn. We had, you know,
Oh, absolutely. I was doing
information.
accounting at 18. And I had no idea how to do accounting. You know,
Exactly. We
like
were
I
learning
was public
about
speaking. I was doing,
absolutely.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean,
figuring out mileages and how I could get places at a certain time. Like it's
right.
constantly thinking and
Yep.
doing things.
Well, and even like learning about international development
Oh,
and,
yeah,
you know, social justice and
totally.
the education world. Like you learn the ins and
Hmm.
outs of like
Yep,
high schools and, you know, how their
totally.
programs worked, how they
Yep,
like your ability to get into a school. Sometimes it was like reaching out to the history department and having
yep,
the curriculum that we provided for them to be able to get into that school. Sometimes it was an all school assembly, you know, it was just
yep.
learning the ins and outs of those different things. And you learned real life skills and you were empowered to do so. And you were empowered
Yep.
to like take charge and to go after it. Nobody was holding you back but you. And
Yep.
I, so with that, like without that, without going to Invisible Children, do you see the
Mhm.
benefits being greater going to college?
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Because I
be,
kind of do. Like I did the college route and then went that, you know, to Invisible Children, so that was
yeah,
different. But
yeah.
I I don't know. I think
I think
that
it's good because kids are you're so young when you graduate high school.
yeah,
Like I feel like I always thought like, you know, when you're younger, you think, oh my gosh, a high school graduate is so old. A college graduate's
sure.
ancient.
Yeah.
Anyone above a college graduate is like basically dead.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, you're you're an actual infant when
Yeah.
you graduate high school. You're maybe a teenager when you're graduating college.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing.
And yeah, and so it's like I do see the benefit in college for somebody who's like maybe doesn't have like a strong like work ethic or
Sure.
like idea of what they want to do. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
then it
think it
can
teaches
be
you some
a
of those
really
skills.
expensive time in your life of
Yes.
learning how to be a human being.
I really want, you know, I want to have kids someday and I really want to
Hmm.
encourage them to like I felt like I wanted to go to college because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like the rest of my friends and peers and
Hmm.
you know, and I picked a major and all that and here we are. But I I want I didn't know what I really wanted to do, you know. I would
Yeah,
encourage
yeah.
people to like, man, take a, you know, 6 months to a year
Take a
and like
year off. Yep.
find the thing that you think you want to do and get
Yeah,
involved in that somehow, right? Like have
yeah.
this internship, have a starter program, like be an
Hmm.
office assistant to someone in that field or whatever it
Yep.
is, just to
Yeah.
know and be like, oh, that's what they do every day.
Yeah.
Like,
Try it out
do I want
first.
to do
Yeah, I
that?
think that's like a luxury that a lot of people don't have,
Right.
but I think it's such like it could be so great for everyone if
Yeah.
they just start as soon as you went like graduated from college you did or from high school you did like a year of exploring different fields
Yeah.
so that when you went into college you were more motivated to
You knew what you were doing. Yeah.
do the thing so like so communications public relations I with Alex's help figured out that like okay because of Coney 2012, one of the campaigns that we did,
Yeah.
like the kind of PR side of that was extremely interesting to
Yeah.
me. How did things go so wrong? How did things go so right?
Yeah.
How does a company, organization, person come back from something like this? And I was fascinated by that. So
Yeah.
my public relations class is PR theory, PR like in society, whatever, like all of these classes that I was taking, I was not, I have to read this. It was like, I want to read another case study. I want to read, because I was so
Yeah.
fascinated by how it worked. And it was because of this, like, time in Invisible Children, in my past, in Invisible Children history, that, like, really made me curious about public relations.
Right.
Um,
How did your
but
perspective
I,
change once you like, of like Coney 2012 and that like era, like, like you mentioned, what went so wrong and yet kind of right, and those
well,
things, like, did you learn things and you're like, oh, this makes sense, or like, do you ever think through
like
that
when I was in
lens?
college.
Yeah, now that you've gone through
Yeah.
college, or
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah, totally. It was like, oh, that's what they were doing.
mm,
This is why we did that.
mm,
Because we did hire a PR company
yeah,
at the time, which
eventually,
was great because it was like just one, we had one communications intern.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think like, yeah,
Monica,
it
who
was,
we had
yeah.
who's been on the podcast as well,
Oh,
and
was she
kind of,
on?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, she's
awesome.
been on as well.
That's great.
So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I learned a lot about like how well we did things from a
Mm,
PR standpoint, but how necessary having those um, already set up in a company is, like, so what people like, it's not something that people think about.
yeah.
Um, and it's not something I think organizations or companies want to think about. They don't want to think about why you need a PR person until you need it,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then it's too
insurance.
late. Yeah,
Yeah, because
exactly.
it's like you don't need insurance until you need it, and then you need it,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
And then you
Totally.
like can't live without it. Like,
Hmm.
how do you?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, my perspective changed a lot after like having a degree in it, but
Mm-hmm.
also there's so much to learn, and like you really have to be in practice. And I
Yeah.
was working in, so this is kind of, I don't know where we're going from here or how much time we have left,
Good
but
question.
I, after college, graduated and got a job, a pretty good job working at a marketing company,
Yeah.
doing communications, internal communications, and inclusion and diversity. And I worked there for like 2 years, and then I got laid off.
Wow.
And that was like, I thought that I liked doing this. So like, I love learning about it, but the actual practice of being in it was sucking the life out of me. I was
Mm.
not happy. I
Mm.
was like miserable. And I didn't realize until I got laid off, like how much of a blessing that was,
Yeah.
because I was like, just like not the person that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so, I have this degree and I have this like thing that I find fascinating and I love to learn about, but do I actually want to practice it and be in that realm? No, I don't.
Yeah.
That's not where I want to be. And so now it's like this whole self-discovery of like, what does bring me joy every day? And what do I want to get out of bed for?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I'm
kind
right
of
there
where,
with you. Like I'm maybe a little older and down the road a little bit, but that's what this is. That's what Crazy Face Uno is. It's like, I'm not satisfied with my life, and I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing and where I'm at. And like, let's do this, like, let's create this thing and let's go for it. And if I fail, I fail, but at least I have the
at
motivation
least you
to,
tried.
yeah. Like this morning, like I legitimately, I stressed out about things, and I have my own anxieties and my own mental health that I, struggle with and work with and whatever. But
Preach.
yeah, right. We all do, and probably thanks Invisible Children in some ways, but we won't go there. But but no, like I this morning, like I'm self-motivated to get out of bed, right? Like I have 2 podcasts today. I'm doing back-to-back podcasts, one's a little bit later today, which is fine for me, and it works out just fine. But that's a lot. It's a lot of mental, like,
Yeah.
it's harder than people might think. And
Well, you have to be mentally like I do appreciate this because you are very you're listening. I wish we didn't need a
Right.
podcast to have conversations like
Right.
this. Like
Yep.
it's been 8 years since we've talked, or whatever, 7 years,
Right.
I don't know. And this is such a nice
Yeah.
conversation,
And I'm learning so much about you. Like I've known a lot about you, right? Like
Right.
we've known each other. We've talked a lot, and we've had conversations. That was my dog, and I don't know why he's barking, but he is got his ears on something.
Oh, no.
Sit down, buddy. That's Chansey Poo. He's my co-host.
Aw.
Anyway, this is really awkward, but I have somebody at my door. So
Okay, please.
I'm going to pause this, but
Okay.
We'll get back going. I'm sorry.
You
One
got
second.
it. No.
All right, we're back. Sorry. I live in an apartment, and they have different services, and one is pest control. We're good. So Mr. Pest Control Man is now on his way, but that was what was going on. This is part of life, right? Things just happen, so We'll move on. We were talking about, I believe, kind of being self-motivated, whatever, and like kind of doing your own thing. But yeah, this is kind of where this is spun. I was a youth ministry major. That was my major. I don't call myself a Christian anymore. Like I don't. Yeah. That's like, what do I do with that?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I don't want to be a youth pastor. So cool. I don't subscribe to that anymore. So cool. Like now what, right? Like now I have this major that I have a 4-year degree that I can say I've been to college, and I have a bachelor's degree, and that's great, right? But I'm right there with you, Emily, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from, is that you're trying to figure things out, and it's okay. It's part of life, and it's part of where we're at, and it sucks. It's struggle. It's hard, and it makes you question the meaning of success and your worth and your value, and it shouldn't, but it does.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I don't. I've said this many times. Like, I don't consider myself successful. I don't. But I'm trying to change that perspective, because I'm so grateful for what I have, and like success doesn't mean the things I've done or accomplished or the money I have in my bank account, which isn't very much. And like, it isn't that, but yet I don't know how to measure it any other way.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know how to measure like.
So I kind of want to speak to this really fast, because like, I think I've been fighting against societal pressures my whole life, not going to college right away, doing things kind of a little bit different than society wants me to do things. And I think that's the same with success. Like, I think in order to be a successful person, it's what is success, right? Like, what is your definition of success? Because society's definition of success is this money, job, wife, husband, partner, whatever, kids. This is like the idea of success for, I think, society. But like, so sometimes a successful day looks like getting up, brushing your teeth, getting out of your house, doing something for yourself, putting sustenance into your body, and then calling that good. Like, success is so much in what the person needs, or what like an individual can do.
But that's a mindset. It's a mind frame, and I struggle to get my head around that. My wife, like we've had this conversation many times, right? Like she's providing for our family. There's no financial support that I am giving our family right now. My wife is 100% doing that, and I'm very grateful. I love it, but I'm also struggle with those societal things and this like need and desire to like be a provider and to provide for my wife, and to like not be this mooch, and to responsibilities seriously and all this. And so like I have hard days and some days that I struggle because I don't feel like I made the progress or that I wanted to with CrazyFaceUno to get to the point where I'm not financially dependent upon her, right?
Yeah.
And like that we can have like if I had a job right now, like we would be living so well. Like we could do so many things. And I think about that and I'm like, is that worth it? Yeah. Is that really worth it?
Well, I think that's just the reality that like, so my, I don't know if this is like too much of a tangent, but like recently in the last like 2 years, or in the last year or 2 years, my brother-in-law, he actually went blind. And so that was like a huge shift, right? Yeah. Like now, and so I was like one of the primary caretakers for their kid who they had just had 2 weeks before he went blind. And now he's in the hospital. I'm helping support my sister and her family. Yeah. And it was a long process. At 37 years old, he lost his sight. He can't see anything. Wow. His idea of success now has to look so different. Yeah. He was a pilot. He was like, or he was like he had his pilot's license. He was like going to like that was his goal. He has 2 kids. He's providing for my sister or helping to provide for my sister. Yeah. And now he can't do any of those things. Yeah. It's like an identity crisis exactly on a whole nother level. And it's not until I think these things are like taken away from I get laid off. My brother-in-law is blind. Like these things happen that perspective I think sinks in with you and you can kind of understand that better of like, okay, my idea of success has to change because now I have to learn with somebody what it's like to not have my sight. So I've had to relearn the world from a blind person's perspective. Yeah. And so I think my idea of like success on a daily basis is like, did I accomplish things to like provide for myself today? And if I did, then that's a successful day. Yeah. But I think you don't get that, we all still struggle, right? Because we want to live up to society's expectations or whatever, because that's what is like the norm. But a lot of people can't. That's not something that they can do. Yeah. And so you have to kind of take a step back and say, like, yes, my wife is the primary money bag in this family. Yeah. However, how am I supporting her? Am I helping to prepare the food? Am I taking care of the household? What does this? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's a successful way. Your wife doesn't have to think about that when she comes home. Right. Exactly. And I think that like you don't realize how big of an impact that is when like my sister comes home. She doesn't get to relax. She doesn't get to have that. Yeah. She has to think, okay, what does my husband need? What do my kids need? Sure. How can I provide for that? Yeah. Whereas like, I think if like somebody could help support in that, it would be such a helpful thing or like an amazing thing. And I think that's a way that you get to be successful and contribute to your household. Yeah. And you get to be successful as a man. I completely agree. Like I know you're right. Like yeah. And that's basically what my wife told me as well. I'm like, what's your expectation for me? We were sitting down at dinner and I'm like, I just need to know, like, I'm struggling. Like, this is like, I have this marker of success in my head and I don't think it's realistic. And so like, I need to calibrate my expectations and like what that means. And she's like, well, I don't really know. I was like, well, I know you have expectations. Like,
even to
Right.
say like I don't have like I'm happy, like I'm happy that you're happy, like whatever, like that's cool. But like if I just sat on the couch all day and I didn't do anything, like would
Right.
that be okay? And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
no. And I'm like, so you
No.
have
Right.
expectations, right? Like,
Exactly.
and that's not what I'm doing. But, and she thought about it, and you know, it was a week or two went by, and she's like, I think, like, I want to come home, and I want you to be able to go, like, I worked today, I worked hard, and I'm happy with where I'm at. Like, that will make me
Mm-hmm.
happy. Like, that's my
Mm-hmm.
expectation.
Yeah.
And like I don't like, and I appreciate that because she's basically saying like you're gonna have your own expectations and you're gonna have like a higher set of expectations than I have, and I just want you to be satisfied and happy at the end of the day, right? And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm working on it. You know, it's a
Yeah.
work in progress, but
Totally.
life's just interesting. Like when you can shift that mindset. I think I also, I don't know if you can relate to this, but like I have this like I want to live life, you know, like I just want to live life to the fullest, and I don't want to like
Totally.
be held back. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we are all constantly holding ourselves back, right?
Yeah.
Because in reality, like, you're thinking about what your wife is thinking about,
Yeah.
and that's like your own insecurities or your
Absolutely.
own, problems with that or whatever you want to call it is holding you back. But if we all just stopped thinking about what other people
Yeah.
cared about or like how we're viewed by whatever, then we would be a lot happier and we'd be living our lives a lot more fully. But we are people's people, like
Yeah.
we crave that communication and interaction with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and we need, I think, to do a better job of communicating and really asking exactly what you asked your wife, like whether you have a friend or a partner, like
Yeah.
whatever, a person in your life that you are around. What is your expectation for this friendship, for this relationship, like for this day?
Yeah.
And how can we both meet our expectations? Um, I think it's very important because we all just are, well, again, yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but I do think that we are all constantly thinking about, like how we're being perceived, whether
Yeah.
that's in
How
a
we
selfish
measure up.
way
Yeah.
or yeah, like am I better than this person, or like
Yeah.
genuinely like I don't feel like I am
Yeah.
good enough.
And it's just a silly feeling, but it's there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It really
And I
is. It's
think
like
just
one of those.
allowing yourself to feel these things is like super important. I mean, I'm not a
Yeah.
therapist, but I think it's important
For sure. I agree with you. I think you're right.
just to allow yourself to feel those things.
Yeah.
Sit
Obviously,
with it.
you struck a nerve with that one, with this little conversation, because I went on my own little tangent. We just had our own little tangent, which is great. I love that. Oh man. So I guess my follow up question to even some of this is like, you mentioned, I wrote it down. Like that you basically said like I don't know who I want to be, or like I'm trying to figure out who I want to be. And so my question to you is like, who do you want to be?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I can answer that question. I
Yeah.
think I'm very much in limbo right now. I do
And that's
see
fair.
like light, at the
Yeah.
coming. I don't think there's an end of the tunnel. I think it's kind of always just like a different path that we're going on. But
100%.
I have kind of like rediscovered my, love of the outdoors, talking about like growing up in my childhood, like it's something that greatly impacted me. And so I want other people to experience those things as well. But there's like unfortunately a big barrier to entry with the outdoors, which it shouldn't be. So that's something that I'm kind of like focusing on right now. I worked at a summer camp, an environmental summer camp.
Nice.
And for the youths. And I just like it was a big reminder of what I love, which is teaching people about the outdoors, because that's where you can find yourself. The outdoors is very unforgiving. You can't, there's not a lot of opportunity for mistakes, and
Yeah.
you have to kind of sit with yourself. And it was just really amazing to see young people have to do that.
Yeah.
And kind of say, you know what, like, I'm not the cool kid that I thought I was. This is kicking my ass. Um, and so I found a love for that. And so I'm just kind of pursuing different youth development and outdoor industry things, and trying to get more people of color outside. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, I think it's an important thing for everybody.
That's awesome.
And kind of resetting and getting rid of society's expectations. I think the outdoors is a great way to do that. So
Here.
I've found my love for that, and so that's kind of where I want to be in the future.
That's so cool. Do you have any like people from your past or in your life that inspire you, that you would call a hero, or people that you've looked up to or have helped you get to where you are today?
I think I probably talk about them too much, but my family,
Yeah.
for sure. Like I said, my brother-in-law went blind,
Mm-hmm.
and my sister, they both actually had brain tumors. My
Wow.
sister and her husband, and life just kind of shit on us really
Yeah.
quickly. And I watched my parents just step up and help take care of my nephews, help take care of my sister, my
Yeah.
brother-in-law, who they don't have, uh, they're not indebted to that like, that's not their blood, but they have,
Mm-hmm.
like, completely changed their lives,
Yeah.
or their lives to kind of, to support them. And I think that's just like, they've always been my heroes.
I love that.
Um, yeah. Which is whatever, corny, but I think, they've made me the person that I am today. They've shown me nothing but kindness and how to give kindness to other people, and I'm very grateful for them.
It's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
What would you say you're most proud of to date?
um,
It's a big one. I know.
I
Bomb
think I'm
just
proud of a
dropped.
lot of things. I think I'm proud of a lot of things. Uh, but one thing that always comes to mind is, we've talked about this. I wasn't a good student.
Yeah.
I wasn't very academically inclined. But I was like a really nice person, right? So in my high school, there's like this award for being, it was called the Christ the King Award. And it was basically like the person who exemplified the my school's spirit and like
Yeah.
whatever. And I got that award, and I don't want to sound like a total brat, but like, that was kind of expected, right? Like, I was a nice kid, I was
Sure.
very helpful to everyone, I did these things, whatever.
No, it's just
But I
reality,
also
right?
got the chemistry award, which was not expected.
Nice.
I like was not, I did not, yeah, there were like AP Chem students who obviously like should have gotten this award because they were like gonna probably be chemists. But I took like the freshman class chemistry my senior year, and my chemistry teacher was like, could tell I was struggling, but I was always like, I tried really hard. I think it was the first time that I like went to the public library and just like put all my notes out and like really tried to like be successful at something in
Mm-hmm.
school, like academic wise. And so I put a lot of effort into learning this chemistry, even though it was like a freshman class that I was taking my senior year. And my professor, I like saw that, and I didn't know that he really saw that. And he did this like little speech and gave me the chemistry award my
Oh.
senior year. And I was like, I bawled like a little bitch because I was like so proud of myself for doing something
Yeah.
like
Hard
academically,
and
yeah, and
but
hard. And it was
you
hard for me.
succeeded at.
Sure, it was the
Yeah.
freshman class, but like, or the freshman, yeah, the freshman class, but I was like, it was something that I really tried hard at, and I was successful, and I got recognized for it. And it's something that I'm still proud of. It's in my room. I'm looking at it right now.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you ever think about your legacy?
Jesus Christ. Oh,
I know. If you can't tell, we're like kind of getting towards the end. So I'm like working towards closing things out. But I've got these like some of these questions, and these are some of like the fun ones that I saved to the end. And I mean, when you look back in your life, what are the things you want to be remembered for? Or,
I think I think about it. I don't know if like I think about it. I do think about my legacy. I want to be remembered, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, by whom or what that looks like.
Sure.
But I think everyone does, right?
Yeah. I honestly, and you know, we kind of, to tie things back in, you know, the loss of a couple of my friends and of Alex, and just thinking about the legacy of people, you know, when they've gone too soon and they're no longer in your life, you think about, and we talk about people with this like reverence and this type of, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of spurred that question in a lot of ways of like, well, and it's made me think, it's made me look back on my life and look a little more introspectively and go like, well, who do I want to be? You know, like legitimately, who do I want to be? Like what is it that I want people to remember me for? Like,
yeah.
And
yeah, I think that's so hard because a lot, like the people, I think this question brings out my insecurities a lot.
Sure.
Because it's like the people close to me who have passed recently, Alex Collins, like, I mean, he was such like a personality and just like a kind, I don't know, like how he did so many different things. And then my cousin actually was killed in the wildfires in California.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
And he was, thank you. Yeah, he was fighting the fires, and he's like an incredible person, right? Like he's a firefighter.
Yeah.
He is like a noble profession. He was an outdoorsman, you know, like he was just like an all around good personality, good vibes to be around. You know, has like the most beautiful wife and beautiful son that he leaves on. And you know, it's been devastating for my family, and he's somebody that I think about every day when I wake up. And it's like, I just don't feel like I'll ever have that sort of legacy. And I think that's just my insecurities. I'm sure people will remember me, you know, if and when I pass. I hope that I don't have to think about it too much and that I pass, you know, very late in my life, and that the people are already gone, or like, you know, that would remember me. Like I'm the last to die, if you will.
Sure. Well, perspective's everything. And I get it. Like I honestly do, because I feel similarly the way you just mentioned that. Like, I don't know how I would answer that question. I'll be pretty frank with you on that, but
it's hard.
Yeah, because I'm my own worst like enemy as well, you know. Like I'm hardest on myself.
Your own worst critic.
Yeah. But I appreciate your honesty and, you know, that vulnerability for sure. Last question.
Yep.
Looking back, what advice or what would you tell little Emily?
Oh man. You're so skinny.
I love you, Emily. You're the best. You're the best. That was so great. Let's wrap it up there. What else? You want to say anything? Any closing remarks? Anything you want to leave? Plug whatever you want. You know, talk about whatever you want. So.
I have nothing to plug. The only thing is, I think we've talked about, just love on your, like, the people around you, especially your family. If you don't have a close family, find the people who you do consider to be like your family and hold on to them and just love on them. And yeah, if people need anything, I'm always here.
Love it. And I truly believe that. I know you mean that as well. So
yeah,
thank
for
you
sure.
so much, Emily. I really appreciate you coming on and
Yeah,
talking
you're
with us.
welcome. Thanks. This has been fun, actually.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Please visit us on Facebook and Instagram where you can like and comment on our posts. If you want to go above and beyond, please share the CrazyFaceUno Podcast with your friends and family or just random strangers on the street. We're welcome to everyone. Once again, please visit CrazyFaceUno.com to purchase our merchandise and donate. Your contributions help us tell more stories like Emily's and the stories just like yours. Thanks again for listening. We love you all. Peace!